Once upon a time, in a place far, far away, lived a boy with a gap in his front teeth. What he thought was a
curse!
We call this gap a diastema, or in this case, a midline diastema. The space between his teeth is usually nothing more than a matter of appearance, but because of its midline position, it has bothered the child for many years, even following the child into adulthood with no solution in sight.
Why must I be so unlucky to see this gap every time I smile?
Well, that's a complicated question.
Whoa! You cannot be real. Have I gone crazy?
No, you haven't. Well, not by us at least. I can see that your diastema has brought you some psychological pain, and we're here to provide you with some answers that can make you believe there's hope in changing your smile.
There's nothing left to believe in.
There wasn't anything left to believe in. I couldn't be here.
Whoa.
Cursed with your diastema, but there is nothing magical about it. You see, it could be caused by genetic factors that could lead to underdeveloped dentition like hypodontia, microdontia, peg laterals, and so arch length discrepancies may result. When dental arches are large but the mesial-distal width of the anterior teeth is normal, spacing between teeth occurs.
You may have also had midline pathologies like a stubborn unerupted mesiodens pushing your upper central incisors apart. The same is true with abnormal frenum attachments, where the labial frenum fails to atrophy, and so the space between the central incisors cannot close.
Or midline diastema is a normal trait during the mixed dentition stage or the ugly duckling stage. And finally, pressure habits during development, such as thumb sucking and tongue thrusting, leads to proclination and generalized anterior spacing.
You lost me at magical. Are you actually real?
But if we want to get it fixed, we gotta hurry, because even miracles take some time.
Miracles?
We meant treatments. Let us show you what I mean. Bippity bobbity boo.
And off they went on their journey towards closing the gap, with the first stop being the beautiful Bonding Bay.
Welcome to the world of composite resin, where efficiency and cost effectiveness are at its finest. The technique that is used here is dental bonding or freehand diastema closure.
I want to know more. How can using composite resin close the gap?
First, the shade of the composite resin is selected to match your natural smile. After measuring the size of the gap and isolating the area using a rubber dam, the teeth are cleaned and proximal surfaces are roughened using a rough diamond burr. A mylar strip is used to protect the adjacent tooth. The tooth is etched for 30 seconds, rinsed, and dried. Adhesive resin is applied and cured. Then resin composite is applied to the tooth to fill approximately half the gap with slight over-contouring. The resin is then finished and polished using Solflex discs, finishing burrs, and rubber tips. For the tooth on the other side of the gap, its surface is etched, rinsed, and dried. A crown form that has been properly extended a millimeter around the gingival margins can be used to apply composite resin to the remaining half of the gap. Using a crown form allows contouring and adaptation of the restoration. Finally, the restoration is finished and polished.
All of this sounds great, but what are the downsides?
In cases where there is a wide space between the teeth, it might not offer a naturally looking smile. Composite resins tend to stain more easily than veneers, so it's not recommended if you have a habit of smoking or drinking coffee.
I might need to reconsider because I have OCD, obsessive coffee disorder.
I get it, coffee is where the magic happens.
The next step on their journey is the Verdant Veneers Valley.
Another option you have are veneers, which are tooth-colored shells or restorations bonded to the labial surface of anesthetic teeth using an acid etch technique. Like the freehand bonding technique, this treatment option is less invasive than crowns, and if you choose composite veneers, it could be done in a single office visit. Veneers are also durable and last for decades without needing to be replaced. It provides good aesthetics and good color stability with less staining if you choose porcelain veneers. Compared to dental bonding, veneers are a more permanent solution and can last longer.
Wow, they look really great. Can anyone choose this option?
No, not really. Veneers are usually used to correct tooth discoloration from tetracycline staining, endodontically treated teeth, fluorosis, aged and cracked teeth. They can be used for those with enamel hypoplasia and hypocalcification, used to correct irregular tooth positioning or tooth shapes, as well as to correct slight diastemas like yours. But there are instances where veneers cannot be used, which includes those with occlusal problems like those with class 3 malocclusion, those with anterior crossbite, malpositioned teeth, heavy occlusal forces, teeth with large areas of exposed dentin which is insufficient for enamel bonding, teeth in labial version, and patients with poor oral hygiene.
Oh, my allergies are acting up. Can we go now?
Off they went to the ominous ortho outskirts. Another option for you to close your gap is orthodontics.
Orthodontics? What's that?
Basically, orthodontics is a branch of dentistry where malocclusions or spaces can be corrected through several different ways, all depending on what kind of gap you have in your teeth. Using braces, aligners, or bridges, these will work by pulling your teeth closer, closing the gap, and giving you a full smile without any spaces.
What do you mean what kind of gap I have? Would they work for me?
In orthodontics, there are two kinds of appliances, removable and fixed. Removable appliances are used to tip crowns of incisors, but they have a tendency to relapse. On the other hand, fixed appliances don't just tip the crowns, but will move the entire tooth body in order to close the space. So yeah, they could work for you. You just need to be aware of the fact that they are quite expensive and that they aren't the most aesthetic, as you'll likely have metal braces and wires in your mouth for the duration of the treatment.
Metal wires in my mouth? It sounds kind of scary. And I'm really cold. Can we go?
So they took it out west to the cool Crown Coast.
Cool. One step closer and we would have landed to the bottom of the cliff. Welcome to the world of Crown Coast.
Crown? Like, for a king? How can that fix my teeth?
Not that kind of crown. A crown is a full coverage restoration used to restore the size and shape of a natural tooth. While they are often used to restore compromised teeth by presence of extensive caries lesions, varying of previous restorations or endodontic treatment, they can also be used to close gaps like yours.
Crown Coast sounds a lot like Veneer Valley. What's the difference?
Veneers need less removal of tooth structure before placing the shells on, but for crowns, a lot more tooth structure is taken off so that the crown could fit. Crowns would also be more expensive, but they're more likely to last longer as they're stronger, and will give you really aesthetic results.
Are there different kinds of crowns? Does it matter what crown I get?
There's many different kinds like ceramic, porcelain fused to metal, porcelain, zirconia, Emax, and gold. For you, I'd recommend something aesthetic because it will show every time you smile, like Emax, all ceramic or zirconia.
So can you crown me already?
Not quite yet. We have one more place to see. Let's go.
And on this last stop, they visited the fresh frenectomy forest.
What's a frenectomy? And is it an option for me?
No, this is definitely not for everyone. If you have an oversized labial frenum, you may be referred to a periodontist for an oral consultation, and a surgical procedure called a frenectomy may be done. This procedure involves cutting the frenum and then repositioning it to allow for more flexibility. If the frenectomy is done on a child, the space may close by itself. But if the procedure is done as a teenager or an adult, the space may need to be closed with braces.
I'm exhausted. Why are you looking at me like that?
After exploring all the treatment options to close the gap, the boy had a big decision to make to finally get the smile he long hoped for. And with the magical powers of the tooth fairy at his disposal, he was granted that smile through a treatment of his choosing. And what could that have been? Tune in next year to find out.